In talking about investment,
100% bootstrap,
what are some of the money management tips as an entrepreneur would you give?
3 times more money, working part-time.
If you want to start a business in United States or want to become an entrepreneur, this video is a masterclass for you. In this video, we are interviewing Vishal Bhatia, who is the CEO of Dedicated Developers, the company which started with 0 employees, now more than 200 employees and multi-million dollars in revenue. It's a very, very inspiring story starting from ground up and how it grew. I would highly recommend you to watch the entire video. We cover the topics from team building, culture building, investments, how can entrepreneurs start their business, how can students be successful in their career, what are the tips for them, personal finance tip, investment tips, and so on. One more feedback I'm looking from you is that we are going to be inviting so many guests like CEOs, founders, co-founders, CTOs, head of product, head of design, directors, VPs. What kind of questions would you want to know from them, whether it's team building, hiring, etc.? Please let me know in the comment section and give me your feedback and let me know what would you want to learn from those people. But now I'll let you enjoy this episode. I want to give like a quick intro to my audience. Who are you and what you do and the fun stuff about you?
My name is Vishal Bhatia. I've been in US for 20 years now. Originally come from India. Um, I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Dedicated Developers. We build web and mobile apps. I also am an angel investor. I own a private equity firm and we invest in early stage startups. And I'm a marketing automation specialist. I work with clients and help them find clients online and convert them.
Yeah. At some point, you were probably on H-1B visa, and then the dedicated developers happened. Can you like tell us how did you decide to do business? What was that point where you felt like, okay, I want to start my own company and not do corporate job?
Yeah, so I still remember when I first got my first corporate job. I was super excited, was making good money, had a great job, and I thrived. First 2 years, I worked very, very hard, and with my motivation and my dedication, I was able to get 3 promotions in 2 years, broke all the records, doubled my salary. But somewhere down the line, deep down inside, I knew I have to be a big fish in a small pond. I cannot be a small fish in a big pond. And I knew that there's more to life. I knew that my passion and my dedication could bring more results for other people and I could do better. So people start asking me that what is the secret behind hiring good developers, because we can't find good developers. And I started sharing my secrets and they said, you are so good at this, why can't you help us find it? And I was thinking on that breakfast table, wow, that could be a business by itself. And that's how I started Dedicated Developers.
Were you scared by like leaving your stable and secure job, which is gonna give you monthly income, to something where you have to do everything on your own and probably having employees and pay them?
I won't say I was scared. I was super confident because even during my student journey, when I had no idea how I'm gonna pay for my college fees, by hustling, I still remember when all my students, all my friends, student friends, graduated with over $200,000 in debt. I graduated with $50,000 in savings. So I've always been a good hustler. So the confidence comes from right there. But yes, there was a point in time where I was leaving my nice cushy corporate job. I'm making high six figures and come to the business world. Definitely the little bit of fear of unknown was there. There was always a little uncertainty was there. But even before I quit my job, what I did good was for about a year I worked very hard as a part-time consultant with other clients, and I was able to make 3 times more money working part-time when I was making a six-figure job, full six-figure income working full-time. So I had sowed the seeds and I was super confident that I should be able to
Yeah.
survive
Yeah.
without a job.
When obviously after you left your job and you started full time working on dedicated developers, did you like had to raise fund at all, or is it all completely bootstrap?
Actually, not. I did not have to. It was 100% bootstrap. I'm a very good saver, so I'm a very simple guy, very moderate living, and being raised in an humble Indian background and humble Indian family. I know how to save good money. So I pretty much used all my savings to fund the business. Another thing which I think was smart back then, what I did was most of the projects I sold, I first got paid by the client before paying my employees and my team. So there was never usually a cash crunch to pay. One thing I did have to invest a lot is in my education and being a player which people want to play work with. And second thing I had to invest a lot is I networked a lot. Instead of spending a lot of money online, I went to a lot of conferences, I went to a lot of live events, meetups, trade shows, exchanged business cards, met people in person, and invested a lot in travel and found some really good people and connections who became my clients.
Yeah. I want to track back to your business. Dedicated developers, you already had few clients. So how did you get your first customer? And then now you have lot many clients. What is your like marketing strategy?
Yeah, so when we first got started, I didn't have a lot of money to invest in marketing and advertising. So my very first set of customers, I met them in a conference and I delivered a lot of value in the meeting. They liked me. I showed a commitment. I said, I gave them gave them an offer that you hire me on a small project and my team will deliver it. We delivered on promise. We did a great job. We paid attention to detail. We were proactive in communication
And this
quality of
product,
work.
is it like project?
Yeah, so we basically first what we got started was we offered a dedicated developer who could work on variety of projects for the clients.
Okay.
So
Got
it
it.
was more of a retainer model where the developer from our team would work on our client's project. And it's so funny that our very first client who came in back in 2009 is still our client. Focusing on delivering quality work, charge people fairly, treat people well, be proactive in communication, and never lose track of quality of work and communication always comes by, and you sooner than later you start to attract a lot of good clients. So we kind of filled in that void which most people experience when they hire offshore developers. So we became the bridge and the glue between the client and the team. And I, because I have a development background myself, and I also have learned marketing for 15 years, I also understand the business world. I could basically, explain what clients are looking for to my team, and I could explain what my team is doing to my clients. So that worked very well.
And like, how do you motivate yourself or encourage yourself when you are going through like the rough time in the business or like low time in your personal life?
I would say that there are few things which has impacted me personally, which makes a big difference in my motivation level. One is that what I ask myself whenever there is a low time or whenever something is bothering me is, would this same thing matter 10 years from now? If something is, I'm really in the moment and it's really bothering me a lot, then I put myself 10 years from now. And if the answer is that this is going to be disappearing in matter of no time and 10 years doesn't matter, I just don't let that bother me. One. And the second thing, which I was very inspired by a talk I heard from Brandon Burchard, where he shared his story in the book called Live Golden Ticket. He said that he had almost near death experience, and when he was going through that experience, he asked three questions to himself. Did he love enough? Did he live enough? And did he matter? And those three
Wow.
questions were so powerful for me that anytime I'm down, I ask myself, did I live enough? Did I laugh enough? Did I matter enough? So that inspiration of making an impact and loving people and treating people well and making a big difference in the world always keeps me going.
I want to talk about like your team building because you've grown your team. How many employees do you have?
So we have different levels of employees. So we have remote contractors who are in US. We also have employees here in US. We also have employees in India, and we also have contractors in India. All I would say is that between 5 offices in US and 3 offices in India, we have about close to 200
Oh,
developers and
wow.
designers. Not all of them are full-time employees. Some of them are
Right,
contractors.
contractors,
But
yeah.
yeah, we have a pretty big team who can help
Nice.
clients.
One of the challenge usually people have is to kind of create this team bonding and the culture. Like one, do you emphasize on culture of the team and the company? And if it is, what it is that culture, and how do you like enforce that culture?
I always wanted to create a culture where anybody and everyone, without any fear, can come to me and talk to me, whatever is bothering them or whatever the ideas they may have.
Mm.
And I encourage to feel free to challenge my thought process. Actually, I personally enjoy people's company
Yeah.
who challenge my thought process and prove me wrong, because I don't like people when they just say yes, 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 and just agree with what I say. So I like them challenging me, and that muscles my brain, and I like that environment. And I think that also gives people that feeling that they are part of a family and
Yeah,
a
they
part
feel
of a team.
empowered.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
feel empowered to make decisions. So I try my best not to question everybody's decisions and give them that free space to
Mm.
create what they want to create. So that
Yeah.
has helped a lot.
Nice. I mean, I preach and talk about networking a lot, like building relationship with people, because that's like a one way to like one have a successful career over here in United States, and also having a like that's how you grow if your network is also somewhat ambitious. But the thing which a lot of my audience ask me is like, how do we network if we are an introvert? Like, do you ever like what are some of your tips, like if you were to give to someone, like maybe your kid or someone who is asking like how should we network with people? What are some of your tips?
That's a very loaded question, but I'll try to answer it as best as I can. Um, you gotta be okay with being uncomfortable.
I
You are
love
going to
that.
fall on your face. You are going to get rejection. You are gonna self doubt how I positioned it is great or not. Few tips I can give on networking side. One is whatever you're doing, you gotta be very passionate about it, because your passion and your energy oozes out of you, and people can read between lines and know that you're really passionate about what you do and you're really awesome at that.
Mm.
The second thing I would say is that prepare a 30-second elevator pitch.
Mm.
Say in very precise words exactly what you do and who you help with. I can't tell you how many times I met people who will go on and on for half an hour just to explain what they do.
Mm.
And it's very complicated for the other person. So your elevator pitch should be practiced, laser sharp, practice in front of a mirror and say it many times. And in 30 seconds, you should be able to dial it in. The third thing I would say is put up a great website, at least one page website which professionally delivers the promise on what you offer to the clients, and print a couple of really nice business cards, and that's it. And then just go meet people.
Yeah.
People are not as scary as you may think they are. And once you start meeting people and talking to people and sharing, it basically magic happens. And one more thing I would say, do not be afraid of pitching. However, also every conversation doesn't need to be the sales pitch. What you want to do is you want to listen to the conversation and figure out what people are struggling with, and if you have a unique solution, offer that advice, offer that help, without feeling that you have to close them into a client.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when the right person comes and you know you can help them, don't be afraid of pitching your service and asking for money, because a lot of people in business world get intimidated on asking money. If that is a fear, you have to get rid of,
Yeah.
because you can't close deals if you are afraid to ask money.
Yeah, and I also love what you said is like, and I think I follow a lot of other entrepreneurs like give, 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 and get basically. So you said the same thing is like, not every conversation needs to be a sales pitch. It can be just knowing that person, and that's how you build relationship. And maybe that person will introduce you to someone else who could be the sales pitch. Absolutely. Yeah, so I love it. Moving to more money part of the question, like because as a CEO, one of your goal is to increase the revenue as well. What are some of the money management tips as an entrepreneur would you give to people?
That's one of my favorite topic. I would say when you're just starting out and we're just growing your team and growing your company, you have to be very frugal of how you spend money. And frugal in a sense that, you're traveling. My strategy is traveling. You don't need all the luxuries. I mean, I go stay in a moderate hotel, rent a decent car, and fly the cheapest flight, and find ways to not go extravagant. especially when you travel, because things start to add up.
Mm.
And even with marketing, it's very tempting to throw a bunch of money at ads and see what happens. So especially when you're in the growth early stage, unless you have a big funding, and if you are bootstrapping especially, what my experience has been is to test the waters a little bit of investment, test the ads and test what results you get, and try to get a good return on investment before you go big on that advertising, versus burning a lot of cash and then figure out what really happened here. So in every area of each category of expense in your business, you want to ask yourself, is there a way to do it more creatively and do it more frugally? Because that mindset helps you a lot to grow big without going too much into debt.
Yeah, love those tips because they are like practical to implement and easy to implement. I also want to ask for like a lot of my student audience, since you've been part of the student journey as well, and obviously you've done really well. You're like a multimillionaire now. So, what is some of the personal finance tips you would give to students like us? Like, what should we do when we start making money?
Again, one of my favorite topics. I think the answer pretty much goes back to the same way. When you're building your life and getting ground up, I would live frugally. I I even till date, now that things have changed and I have had some nice fancy cars, but until
What car do
recently,
you drive?
I just bought a Model X, Tesla Model
Oh,
X
nice.
recently,
Okay.
but that was a very big
The
toy,
biggest expensive,
yeah,
yeah.
expensive toy which I
Yeah.
ordered, and I struggled with it, even though
Yeah.
I can afford it. But I was like, maybe I can invest that money into my education and my business. But
Yeah.
heck, we live once, enjoy once, right? What I mean by live frugally is, live below your means and don't spend crazy money on crazy things. Like, I personally feel that especially when you're building your life, buying a brand new car is, I think it's a little bit of an overkill. I always buy a couple of years used car, which still is fairly new, but you're not taking the depreciation, and then you take good care of it and drive it for 7 8 years. So that really, that's the decision you have to make. You want to live that flashy life, or you want to live below your means and save the money and invest it wisely. Same thing for eating, dining out, going to a restaurant and blowing $200 300 on a meal. It just doesn't resonate with me. I enjoy, I go out, but I don't go crazy on buying expensive drinks, and I spread it out. I don't go too often. So, making those small little decisions on a daily basis and making sure you're having fun, you're making money, but you're also not going crazy on spending it. And then using those savings and investing it wisely is also equally important. So, after a lot of losing a lot of money in different asset classes, what I've learned is that investing in a balanced stock market index fund has actually paid off very well. It's a not very aggressive strategy, but it's also very balanced, and over a long period of time, investing in those index funds pays out quite a bit. So
Yeah. What
those are
are some
some.
of your favorite index funds?
For me, my most favorite index fund is Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, and
So VTI.
VTI,
Yeah.
and Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund is the
Yeah.
other one. So
Yeah.
I usually invest in those two index funds mostly.
And what about S&P 500? Like, do you do VOO?
I don't do an S&P 500 just because there is an exposure of S&P 500 total stock anyway. So it's a very, very balanced fund. So I use Vanguard's personal advisory service, and they recommend to keep a very simple strategy of, spend, put like 60% in total stock and 20% total international stock, and that actually works pretty well. And then as you grow older, certain percentage of that portfolio you would want to invest in bonds as well.
Hmm. And I know you talked, offline, we talked about real estate investment as well. Like, you have invested in real estate. Would you recommend like students, once they graduate and once they start making money, to keep renting versus buying, or investing in real estate?
Yeah, so I personally am a big believer of real estate. Right now, the market is a little bit too crazy.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
depending on where you live, you have to, play it by the year how it goes. But once things settle down a little bit, and you know for sure that you're gonna live in that house at least for 5 years, that's a little bit rule of thumb, is that at least you know that you're going to live there for 5 years. Then buying a house makes sense. I mean, if I were a student, have to go back again, and I'm not married yet, I would go to an extent where I would buy a small condo or townhome for a moderate price, and I have other friends come and live
Live
with
with
me
me.
as
Yeah.
roommates, and my
Yeah.
rent which I collect from my roommates pretty
Yeah.
much can pay for my mortgage, so I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
build an equity over time.
Yeah,
So
I did that same thing. Like I had a roommate. I bought the house as soon as I was able to put the down payment, and I had a roommate like who paid the part of the rent, and as a part of the rent, he would pay anywhere else. And I was like, well, why don't you just stay with me? And so yeah, like my mortgage was payment was like $200-300, so which is like
yeah,
nothing compared to like paying rent and throwing away that money.
sure.
I've also seen a lot of people do buying into like triplex duplex where they live in one unit and then rent out the other unit and basically covering that
Yeah, you
money.
can definitely do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are very creative way of, I would say, living frugally but also enjoying your life. So you have
Yeah.
to find very creative ways of
Yeah.
enjoying that.
Yeah. And one of the things which you didn't mention, but I know you totally believe in and you do it for yourself as well, like investing into your own education and upskilling,
Yes,
because
yes.
you said
I'm a
some.
very big believer of that. I mean, until until last couple of years, I used to almost invest everything which I used to save from my business income into my own personal education. I've probably spent more than $300,000 so far in
Oh
my
wow.
own education, in terms of learning marketing, learning development, learning technology, and going to all these different events and meeting some great people,
Yeah.
and that has served me very, very well. So
Mm.
the what you want to think about is that if you have the desire to start your own business and be attracted to your clients, you want to be that person which people would want to hire and
Yeah.
you want to associate with. So you have to first start with investing in yourself before you think somebody would want to invest with you.
Yeah. Talking about investment, I know you are also an angel investor and you invest into like early stage startups. Uh, what do you look for when you are like investing in the company? What kind of things you look for? If like let's say people who are watching right now and they're like, oh, he's an angel investor, what would you say? Like what are some of the key things you look for?
Yeah, so angel investing is pretty interesting. I recently got into it about a year ago, and we invested in about 4 companies right now, and we're constantly looking for great tech startups to invest in.
So if you're saying if I build my own company, would you invest in it?
Well,
Depends.
depends, right? So 5 things which I would say pretty much most all angel investors look for. One is the product market fit, which means that you have to do enough due diligence that there is a very big demand for that product, and there's a market, there's a huge market for it. And the product market fit also means that your product is so easy to understand that if the hungry crowd of the hungry market looks at it, they will buy it right away without a lot of explanation. It has to be very simple product to market fit. The second thing which angel investors look for is how um, big is the market. If the market size is only so much, there is only so much you can
Mm,
grow. So if they are looking for whether this market would cap at $1 million or it's gonna cap at billions of dollars, so
mm,
that's very important as well. The third thing which they look for is, have you created an MVP, or have you created the version of the product? Have you got traction? Have you already got clients? It's very difficult for any startup founder to just go in front of angel investors, and you can do it, but it's hard to just show a few presentation, a few slides and explain your idea and
yeah,
expect them
like
to
just theory.
give money.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to build the product, get some clients to prove that theory is not theory anymore. And last but not the least, what I would say is that most angel investors, including myself, look for the passion, the drive, the energy, the inspiration, the willingness to do whatever it takes from the founders. I
Mm,
believe that just in a race course, how you bet on a jockey to win the race, you bet on the founder whether this company will be
mm,
successful or not. So those are key elements which you have to have before you can expect an angel investor to share any interest in you.
mm. I'll keep those in mind. So once I have it ready, I'll come to you. What would be the tips for like early stage entrepreneurs who are like just getting into it, they're starting to build? what tips would you give them to grow their business?
The number one tip I can give you is first invest in yourself. Don't find every nickel and dime you can find and invest in quality education. Do research, buy some great courses, go to some great seminars and conferences, and surround yourself with successful people, because average of your 5 people you hang out with is where you're going to
Is what
be
you will become. Yeah.
mindset wise and financial wise.
Yeah.
So surround yourself with financially successful people, surround yourself with successful business owners, go to good events. It'll give you so many ideas. I would not rush into the first idea which came to your mind and start building it, because it takes a lot of effort to grow any company. And you want to make sure that at least the first idea is the one which you're going to stick around and not doubt yourself 6 months from now. So when you surround yourself with all those people, you're going to start to get real feedback, and be very open to the feedback and not get emotionally attached to your idea, because that's the biggest mistake people make, is
I
get
love
emotionally
that.
attached
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Finally, what advice would you give to the students who are studying right now, trying to, hustle like you did? What advice would you give for them to be successful in career?
Number one tip I can give you is, whatever you're studying, whatever major you're majoring in, put your heart and soul and your passion into it. You want to make it your goal that you are one of the best, if not the best, in that area of study. If you become one of the best in the world in whatever you're studying and whatever you're working on, money will just follow you. Companies will just follow you, and they will find you, and they would want to work with you. And when you work in your when you get your first job, your goal is to constantly look for more than what you have been given as a job. Look for what else can you offer to improve that company. I know it's sometimes hard when you're a new employee in something, but you can always find ways to make a bigger impact in the company, something which is outside of your role and responsibilities, which will pay you long term, and which is what will always build your character and build your strength in your portfolio.
Mm, love it. I love all those tips. Feels like, I don't know how long we've been filming, but almost feels like an hour long masterclass. I hope people take this and implement these tips in their life. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me,
Yeah,
and it was really a pleasure sharing my journey. And all I can say at the end is that if my journey and my tips could help even one person make a significant impact in their life, I will be very humbled and happy
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
So if anybody wants to reach me, feel free to reach me. I'll be happy to help in any way I
yeah.
can.
Until our next one.
Keep smiling, keep hustling.